Welcome back, my friends, to another edition of the Chief Audit Executive Briefing. The last couple of weeks, I've been talking to you about some ways to help manage your time a little bit better so that you don't feel so busy and so overwhelmed and can actually take time for the things that are really important in your life. Now, if you remember, I gave you a couple of different stories, so I'm just trying to check in with you right now to make sure that you've actually done some of these things. Because if you've been doing them over the last week or two, you should start to feel different. You shouldn't feel as anxious, you shouldn't feel as busy, and you should feel more satisfied in actually what you are doing. Now, in this week's edition, I want to share with you another tip in this area. And like I said, I'm kind of, spending 3 weeks on this because I've seen so many people that are going through this and are talking to me about this. So I want to make sure and get this out there. Because the better we can manage our time, the better we can understand what's really important, take care of those big rocks first, it leaves more room for us for more of the important things in our lives, okay? And it leads to more fulfillment, less stress, and I think both of those are things that all of us would like because most people want that. So today I want to give you another tip on how to actually do this, and it's called EDA, is how I refer to it. So you can make it kind of fun, like, hey, I'm so overwhelmed and busy, I need EDA to help me, right? So EDA, E-D-A, pretend it's a person's name. And I kind of like that because my mother's name was Isla, I-L-A, so E-D-A, when I say that, actually kind of reminds me a little bit of her. And she was one of those people that did kind of get everything done and get going. So you might need a little EDA, E-D-A, in your life as well to help you in managing your time, focusing on those first things first. Remember those big rocks that we talked about? And in determining what 5 things you can do each day that are most important for you to do, that only you can do. So here's what EDA stands for. E is for eliminate, D is for delegate, and A is for automate. And so, because the reality is, you've got lots of things that come on your plate, and you have to decide, again, what's urgent and what's important. But going through this EDA process also helps you get a lot better clarity on what it is that you actually have to do. Because what happens often is we believe that we have so much more to do than we actually do. So this helps you in figuring it out. It also helps you in being able to manage and work with your team better. So the first thing that you want to do is try to eliminate things that you are doing. So take a look at your calendar, look at your to-do list, and think about, is this something that is really important that I do? Is it something that is important that I need to do? And if the answer is no, then just eliminate it. Quit doing it. There are a lot of things that you end up doing that aren't necessarily that important, and if you stopped doing them, nobody would probably notice. So the first tip is to try to eliminate things that you don't need to be doing. The second one is on delegate. So again, think about your team. You're all executives. What are things that you can delegate to someone else? So these are important things that still need to be done, but they're not necessarily something that you have to do. And so think about those things again that are on your calendar or on your to-do list and see which of those things you can actually delegate to someone else. Now the last step is automate. So if you've eliminated things, if you've delegated things that you don't need to do, the last step is to try to automate things. And so again, with technology now, there are a lot of different ways that we can actually automate the work that we do. Excuse me. One example that I use is, excuse me, I would take a lot of time in trying to schedule meetings with people, because you go back and forth on email or other things like that, and being able to find a time that works for both people. So that's one area of my life that I chose to automate. I use a program called Calendly that links to my calendar, and it shows people who want to talk to me and want to have an appointment with me what open time I have on my calendar. So they can go out there, they can book the time. It sets up the calendar items for us. If it's going to be a video call, it sets up the video call for us, and everything is done automated, and the calendar item just shows up on my calendar. In fact, it shows up on the other person's calendar as well, right? Because it's all automated to try to make this easier. So that's an example of being able to use automation to, again, get some of your time back. So instead of spending a couple hours a week trying to coordinate with other people, now I can just give them a link. They can click on the link, see what time I have available, and just book something right away. So it takes less than 5 minutes instead of, both of us trying to kind of go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until we end up finding a solution or a time when we can actually talk. So if you're not already doing it, sit down this week and think, how can you use the EDA model? Eliminate, delegate, and automate. Because what you're going to find is you go through that exercise, there's going to be a lot of things that fall off that you no longer need to do, which is going to free you up for more valuable work. And again, like I've said before, it will end up reducing your stress and give you more fulfillment, because where you are now working or what you're spending your time on is much higher use of your time. Now, I know that we're all busy, and again, but by doing these things, you can actually take back quite a bit of time on your calendar and not have to worry about being so busy that you have to say no to so many different things that you're not able to do the important things that you really need to do. So again, go out this week, think about what can you eliminate, delegate, and automate, and I will see you on the next edition of the Chief Audit Executive Briefing. Have a great week.